This is Rock Leach with Social Fire. Okay, family, the Department of Justice just announced that Jacksonville minister, they called him a minister here, but we know him as Prophet Brian Carn, pled guilty to tax crimes. Now, and before you start pointing fingers like this is some rare big preacher scandal, let me warn you. This is bigger than Brian Carn. This exposes a church financial system that's been sloppy, untrained, and unacceptable for years, where money gets labeled ministry but gets spent like personal income. And the scary part is some churches are doing the same thing right now and don't even know they're breaking the law. So what I'm going to do today is I'm going to show you what nobody else is going to explain, because your pastor, even your church, could be guilty and not be aware. You don't want to miss this video.
Social fire, we don't play. Rock Leach bringing the heat all day. Faith on fire, no mask, no leash. Fire in his voice, yeah, I rock.
He the voice for the ones that the church forgot. He bring truth to the light, whether liked or not.
Recently, there was an article that came out that I'm going to show you the actual article here. Well, that was the article. The article came out from the Department of Justice, came out of Public Affairs, and they talked about Brian Carn and what's going on here with him, with what he pled guilty. And so what I want to do is I'm going to blow this up for you just so we can really dig into this article here, you all. And I'm going to underline a few things and going on different things like that so you can see what's going on here. Now, when we look at this, we have to see from the beginning. It says, according to, well, let's start right here. A Jacksonville minister pled guilty today to obstructing the IRS efforts to collect his tax debts. According to the court documents and statements made in court, Brian Carn Jr., now we got to know who this is about. Brian Carn Jr. operated a ministry under various names, including, and there is a reason that they're going to give us all these ministry names, y'all. First one is this right here, Healing House Ministries, Brian Carn Ministries, and y'all see all this right here, Kingdom Culture Church, Culture City Churches. Y'all, all of that right there are the different names, and I'm just underlining them right there just so y'all could see all of them. In 2016, Carn filed his tax return for 2015 that properly reported that he earned more than 1.6 million. Now, I want y'all to see that. This is what he originally said that he made, 1.4 million in income, and owed more than 600,000 in taxes. That's what it says. He did not, however, pay those taxes to the IRS, and instead came up with a scheme to deceive the IRS. Now, to see this whole thing right here, this is what it's about. He came up with a scheme to try to manipulate, try to get out of it. So this whole thing right here, you all, is really about him coming up with this scheme to get over on the IRS, and that is the criminal thing right there. So let's go even further right here. And so what happened is that it actually says a few months later, and I hope y'all can see that we're right here. It says a few months later, when the IRS attempted to collect his unpaid taxes, including by placing liens on his properties and attempting to levy his bank accounts. So he's got some properties, didn't know that, but I'm quite sure he does, and more than one bank account. He's got that. Carn amended his 2015 tax return and falsely removed nearly 1.3 million in income that he previously reported. To accomplish this, he hired a new accountant. Y'all, look at this. This is just crazy stuff. Hired a new accountant and provided him with fictitious, backdated employment agreement that provided for an annual salary of $120,000 and an annual parsonage of $24,000. So y'all, looks like the accountant wasn't in on it. Carn hired somebody new and then gave them fake information. That's terrible. And y'all, but these are the amounts right here that he tried to say what he was, actually doing, parsonage and all that. Carn represented to his accountant that this was all the income he earned for the year. Crooked. that this was all the income that he earned for the year. Carn represented third parties on credit applications, financial account openings, and lease applications, and otherwise knew that the income he actually earned far exceeded the purported salary in the employment agreement provided to the new accountant. He knew it. He knew it. Now, y'all, wait, I'm going to get into some things that's not in this article that I want to really explain to you. So in the following years, operating under the premise of a fictitious employment agreement, Carn filed a series of other tax returns that drastically underreported his true income. But in 2020, he stopped filing tax returns, despite continuing to earn income by using ministry funds to pay for personal expenses. Y'all, this is just bad. Finally, when the IRS was trying to collect the outstanding taxes, Carn made a number of false representations and material omissions to the IRS to conceal. Y'all, this is terrible. They using specific, I'm actually underlining this so y'all can see the specific verbiage that's being used here. Conceal his assets and income. Carn's obstruction, and you'll notice that I'm gonna explain why they're using that obstruction right there, y'all. Carn's obstruction caused the loss to the United States of between $550,000 to $1.5 million. Carn faces a maximum penalty of 3 years in prison. Assistant Attorney General A. Tyson Duva and the Justice Department Criminal Division made the announcement. All right. And so, y'all, that's basically what the article is saying right there. And y'all, there's a lot that's going on right there. And so I want to show this right here to you. We're going to look at this right here. Then I'm going to explain some things, how churches, regular churches, are probably guilty of some of these things. And I have to make sure that y'all know it. So this first part of this article right here is basically what was going on. What, he reported 1.4 million, and then he actually owed more than $600,000 in taxes. Now, down here is where it looks like he tried to scheme and get away with it, And it's amazing how he's a prophet of God, supposedly. He's a prophet of God, supposedly, and didn't see this coming. You're a prophet, sir, but you didn't see this coming. And so you got a scheme. And didn't you see as a prophet that this scheme wasn't going to work? They was going to find it out and you're going to end up on money. Now, let me explain a few things to you because I want to make sure that y'all getting this. So it's 7 things that I want to explain to you that maybe other influencers may not. Because we're talking about the Department of Justice, this article right here about a Jacksonville, about Brian Carn pleading guilty to this tax crime. And you all, the thing that I want to make sure, I'm not going to do the same thing that everybody else does. So, most influencers are going to read the headline, act shocked and move on. That's the thing. But I want to show you, I always try to do my due diligence and show you more, explain more. I want to give you the part that may not be taught in other circles. And so let's go ahead and look at this. This is about a whole system, y'all, a church culture that has been financially reckless, ungoverned, and untrained for a long time. And y'all, I want to break this down into 7 things that you need to understand that other people are not going to, they're not going to touch this. And I'm looking at this from a pastor's perspective. Y'all, I am a influencer, a YouTuber, but I'm a pastor. I've always been a pastor, minister, preacher. So I understand what a lot of this stuff is going on here. But I also understand that there are a lot of pastors and churches who are guilty of this very same thing. And you're a scandal waiting to happen. So first thing that I want to give you is this right here. Tax exemption, y'all. We got to look at tax exempt church does not mean tax exempt pastor. Yeah, that don't mean that. Please hear me. That don't mean, listen, but just because it's a tax exempt church doesn't mean it's a tax exempt pastor. This is the number one misunderstanding in the body of Christ, y'all. And I want to say this clearly. Yes, the church can be tax exempt. They can. But the moment money becomes personal income, it becomes taxable. It becomes taxable. So if the pastor receives a salary, speaking fees, honorariums, love offerings, cash out money, book income, consulting income, y'all, that ain't ministry money anymore. It's not. That's personal income. And that right, y'all, and listen, this right here is where so many people get deceived. They get deceived. They think because it came from church, it's untouchable. No. No, that's not the case. No, sir, no, ma'am. The IRS doesn't care what you called it. If it funds your lifestyle, y'all, they call it income. So you got to make sure if it funds your lifestyle, it's income. Please understand that. Next thing that I want to give you is this right here. The Department of Justice used the word obstruction. And I want to explain why they use that word, why that's so big, and why they use that word. Listen, the Department of Justice didn't just frame it as, I forgot to file. They didn't frame it as that I forgot to file or I'm behind on my taxes. That this isn't a oops, y'all. That's a oops when you forgot to file or, I forgot or I'm behind on my taxes. That's a oopsie, if you would. The word they use implies something very specific. It implies you weren't just late. You were actively trying to block the IRS from doing their job. That's what it's strategy. You put some strategy in to actively block the IRS from doing their job. That is obstruction, y'all. Let me put this in street terms. But listen, late taxes, it's a mistake, but obstruction, that's strategy. You use strategy. That's what you did. And that's what makes this story serious. That's what makes it serious because it is obstruction. And notice how in this article that we looked at, I showed it to you several times where they use obstruction in several different cases here in the article. So the next thing that I want to show you is the hidden issue of co-mingling, mixing church money with personal life, y'all. It's dangerous. This one right here, y'all, and when you mix personal, y'all listen, and I'm getting caught up in my words because I understand that it's so many pastors that do this. You're mixing church money with personal life, y'all, and this is a big one as well. A lot of pastors do this, even honest ones, and it looks like this. Let me show you how it looks. The church account pays personal bills, all right? Personal spending gets labeled ministry. Listen to me. Cash gifts aren't tracked. There's no separation between God's money and my money. There's no separation there. And once that happens, y'all, even if a pastor isn't a thief, even if the pastor means well, the paper trail will still look like fraud. That's what it's going to look like. The paper trail is going to look like fraud because of this, because chaos in finances always produces suspicion. When you got chaos in your finances, y'all, and confusion becomes the perfect cover for corruption. I've seen this. I know plenty of situations that are going on right now with this kind of thing, and the IRS don't care. They're going to look at the paperwork. The paper is going to tell the story, regardless of what you say with your mouth. All right. Listen. Next thing that I want to get to right here, I believe this is maybe point 4, is why the Department of Justice listed multiple ministry names, and most folk gonna miss this. I want to show you because I did underline that there, just trying to make sure I underlined a lot of the things that I needed to in this as well, because those ministry names, let me get to those ministry names here that he did. I think yeah, we put them on here. I don't see them for some reason, but I thought I put them on here. But they are bank accounts committed. Let's see. Looking at, here we are right here. I just wanted to make sure I showed you all that. And it's a reason I'm only showing this because it's a reason. Look like I erased it after I did. I have Healing House Ministries. We have Brian Carn Ministries. And we have Kingdom Culture City Churches. Y'all, that's 3 different ministries. Now, I need you to understand something. With that, you all, is that this right here, they listed those multiple names. Most folk gonna miss this part right here, but this part matters. When the Department of Justice starts listing multiple organizations connected to one leader, y'all, that usually hints at this right here. That usually hints multiple funnels, multiple funnels, multiple income streams, multiple money buckets. And when money moves through 3 or 4 ministry names, y'all, it becomes very easy to lose accountability and very easy to play games. That's the thing right there. Very easy to play games. Now, we've seen this over and over again, time and time again with different preachers, that have went to jail, got caught in indictments, all that kind of stuff, y'all. It makes it easy to play games. And then people sitting up there thinking they can outsmart when that paperwork is going to tell the truth. And so because nobody It's easy to play games, y'all, because nobody can tell where the money started or where it ended or who it truly benefited. Y'all, that's a problem. And so that's why those three ministries, Healing House Ministries, Brian Carn Ministries, and Kingdom Culture Church, were brought up right there. That's why they brought it right there. Number 5, I believe it's number 5 that I'm getting to. Y'all, the tax loss of $600,000 does not mean he only made $600,000. I want to make sure y'all hear that. It doesn't mean that he only made $600,000. So I need you all to hear me. People will hear $600,000 and think, oh, okay, and he made about $600,000. No. That's not what that means. Tax loss mean that's what the IRS says you owed in taxes. That's not the income. I need y'all to hear me. That's how much taxes were owed. That's not the income. That's the tax portion. So depending on the number of years, the tax bracket, and the amount of income involved, the real income connected to that tax bill could be $1 million, $2 million, $3 million, even more. And, and this is going to shock some people because most folk don't understand how tax loss works. That's why it's shocking. So it's not $600,000, y'all. It's probably more than that, $1 to probably $3 million, even more than that. I want to share this right here with you. Y'all, we'll make this point 6 because it's very important, which is love offerings are still income. I want you. Most churches have pastors, small and large churches, have them love offering envelopes. We want to love our pastor. We gonna give him a few dollars here and there. Listen, love offerings are still income. And the church world hates this truth. That's income, y'all. We'll make it sound wonderful. We just giving him a little money so he can buy him a little sandwich or something like that. After a few of them sandwiches, you don't want your pastor to go to jail behind your love offering and your sandwiches you claim you're buying for him. I'm just saying. Let's talk about it. Let's get into it. So a love offering, y'all, feels spiritual. It does. It feels spiritual, right? It sounds holy. But if it consistently supports your lifestyle, you getting gas with that, you're buying food for your house with that, the IRS sees that as income. Y'all, we're talking about a prophet's offering. Y'all know what you do. Pastor's appreciation envelopes. Ooh, I know them pastor and wife anniversaries. I'm telling you, bless the man of God, like Joseph Beholder says. Don't tell nobody, just put it in his hands. Y'all know them holy handshakes where you shake the pastor's hand and you got some seeds. And you listen, I'm going to tell you this. We call it a blessing, but the government calls it taxable income. And the church culture sets people up to fall into this trap because we don't teach financial accountability. We just shout, touch not mine anointed, and hand them the envelope. And that, I'm telling you, go to jail behind these envelopes. I hope y'all hearing me. Don't go to jail behind an envelope. All right. And number 7, y'all, let me give you this real takeaway right here. The church needs financial discipleship. That's what's needed right here. This story that we're looking at with Brian Carn, y'all, we got to look at how it affects the overall church. We need financial discipleship. That's what we need. Because everybody wants Bible teaching. Everybody wants revelation. Everybody wants deliverance, but nobody wants to teach taxes, payroll, ethics, reporting. Nobody wants to teach that, governance, accountability. So then what happens? Some leaders aren't just spiritually undisciplined, y'all. They're financially untrained and ungoverned. Did y'all hear what I said? Ungoverned. And that becomes a scandal waiting to happen. That's the reality of this whole thing right here. So we see this with Brian Carn in the article, what happened right here, y'all. And there's so many things in this article that we're seeing. But I wanted to talk to you about y'all. This could lead to jail time. It could lead to jail time. And he willingly, y'all, went out of his way to obstruct the United States government. He strategically hired somebody new, hired a new accountant and gave them fake documents. And I wonder where he learned that from. Where did he learn that from? Let's be real. Where did he learn that from? Y'all see, we got to make sure we got to start teaching those things that people are not talking about. We got to. that, because it's a lot of people are spiritually undisciplined, but they're also financially untrained. And this is a reality of what happens. No accountability, no governance, no reporting, no ethics, no payroll, don't understand taxes. And everybody want to teach, but they ain't teaching that part. They're not teaching the financial responsibility. They're not teaching. Everybody wants deliverance. Everybody wants revelation, but we're not teaching the things that are necessary as well. Taxes, payroll, ethics. We got to get into those things, reporting, governance, y'all. And when you got this touch not mine anointed, a lot of that is this untouchable culture that we're creating. And not only are they untouchable in church, but a lot of these clowns think that they're untouchable by the United States government. And let this be a case study to all pastors about how you need to get your financial house in order. I want to know what you think about this video. Let's talk about it. Meet me in the comments. Let's go.
Social fire, we don't play. Rock leech, bringing the heat all day. Faith on fire, no mask, no leash. Fire in his voice, yeah, I rock.
He the voice for the ones that the church forgot. He bring truth to the light, whether liked or not.